All right. Welcome to the Knicks Film School post-game show presented by BetUS. Before I say anything about this basketball game, and man, for a preseason game, we are going to have a lot to talk about this one. All good stuff, too, which is even better. I want to issue a heartfelt, sincere, and I'm downright giddy, actually. Congratulations to the New York Mets and, more importantly, all of their fans out there on making the National League Championship Series with what was a thrilling game tonight. I have a feeling we may hear from someone a little bit later who may have had a little bit of emotional investment in that game. I certainly had some myself. Mostly, I'm just happy that my wife is back watching baseball because she's the biggest Met fan that I've ever known. And, you know, having kids, it kind of takes away your mojo in that respect. But she was pretty excited tonight. Okay. Congrats, Mets. Let us talk about this basketball game. Knicks' second preseason game, which they won by a final score of 117-94. You know, it was an interesting game when you shot 41% from the field and 25% from deep, and yet you still score 117 points. You can thank the Washington Wizards for that. That team is not a good basketball team. But enough about them. There's a lot to dig into our teeth into, but I'm going to start big picture because I think for as cool as it was to see this team come out fully formed, with the starting, with four of the five starters that we've all been anticipating, and then Josh Hart ended up being the fifth starter. It was cool. It was really cool to see it in Charlotte. They ran up and down the floor a little bit. To say that they were playing at 75% speed is probably being a little generous. And they did some cool things and they had some cool moments, but like it was more like, okay, it was fun. It was fun seeing them all out there. Nobody got hurt and they won in a fun close. Tonight, for me, I saw the vision. Again, caveats abound. Preseason number 1, number 2, the Wizards stink. Number 3, because you can't emphasize it enough, the Wizards stink. But in what the Knicks were trying to do at both ends and what they largely accomplished at both ends, you saw, I think, what the front office and the coaching staff are seeing and what they have been envisioning when they made, obviously, the moves that they made to put together this team, because at times it was downright frightening. And we'll get into some of the reasons why that was in a bit. I think probably the best place to start is with the Brunson Towns combination. If the Knicks do anything this year or next year or in the years to come, it will be in large part because Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns do something special. And tonight, Brunson came out like a man on fire. I think he scored 17 points in the first half. He looked like he's already in midseason form. Karl-Anthony Towns wasn't doing anything. He could not hit the far side of a barn. I don't know that he probably didn't have 5 colder halves shooting-wise all of last season than he had in the first half tonight. And then the third quarter came around. And again, Wizards preseason, the whole thing. But the Knicks started spamming the Brunson cat pick and roll. And look, I get it. It's Valanciunas, not exactly a defensive, enforcer in the middle there for Washington. But the variety of ways that those two guys can play off each other and the ways that they could get each other buckets and use the other one to get buckets for themselves. It was like, oh my goodness. This is I mean, it's not something, you know what, honestly, the thing that I was thinking as I was watching it is I was thinking of Cat and like, look, Cat deserves a vast amount of criticism for some of his pitfalls over the course of his career. But the one thing that you kind of have to acknowledge is he's never had a playmaking partner anywhere close to what he has now. Like, I get he had the 1 year with Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler is certainly qualifies as a playmaker. But we know now that Jimmy Butler also hated Karl-Anthony Towns. And I can't say I've been going back and watching a ton of film of the 2000 whatever it was, 17, 18 Wolves. But like, I'm sure they had their moments, but even Jimmy Butler's not Jalen Brunson. For a variety of reasons. And again, I'm not sure we should have put too much stock in what we saw from those two. And then you fast forward, and not a whole lot of great shakes at point guard. I mean, I had Jeff Teague, and Jeff Teague was okay. And then obviously Mike Conley the last like year and a half. Mike Conley's really, really good, but at this point in his career, 35 years old, like this is a different animal. I'm not going to sit here and say that, like we compared Jalen Brunson and Anthony Edwards as players. That's not the point. Again, Dane Moore was on this podcast. He watches every Wolves game. He was on this podcast a week and a half ago, whatever it was, saying, like, acknowledging, like, those two guys never really found any genuine footing together. And you can go back and you can watch the tape last year, and part of that was just it for whatever reason, like, it didn't quite click. And part of that is because Anthony Edwards' pick and roll partner was Rudy Gobert, not Karl-Anthony Towns. It's going to be very different on this team. And I think you saw the fruit that could bear and all the compromising positions that it could put a defense in tonight. So out of all the stuff that we saw tonight, I think that is probably number one for me in terms of my takeaway. After that, we could go in a couple different directions. I think it's only fair before we get to some of the fun stuff towards the end. We talk about the defense. Again, in Charlotte, saw some nice things. And again, I'll probably say this 5 more times. Caveat, it's the Wizards who might win 12 games this year. I don't know. But like it got to the point where as soon as Washington was crossing half court, like they were trying to like do simple stuff like make an inbounds pass or rather pass an entry pass into the post, or like for the moment in the thing was the third quarter where Mikal Bridges was just guarding, I forget who it was, out in space. And just like, it wasn't, the dude wasn't even trying to make a pass. Like, Bridges just got in his airspace and his arms go on for, 12 feet, just took the ball away and came down for an easy bucket. Like, I get it. And look, against the best teams will find ways to take advantage of Brunson and Towns when those guys are on the floor together. They'll find ways to take advantage of Brunson or Towns when only one of them is on the floor, even if the Knicks have a bunch of good defenders out there with them. The best teams, the best teams figured out a way to do that. But against the vast majority of the league, you put these guys out there, man, OG and Mikal and Josh Hart together, even throw in some of the other guys like Deuce didn't even play tonight. It's going to be really, really uncomfortable. And I guess that's my biggest thing. And like, it's funny because the Wizards had 30 turnovers tonight. Tibbs teams have never been high turnover teams. They're low turnover on offense, but getting a bunch of turnovers has never been a tenet of Tibbs defenses. It's more stay home, be conservative, and take care of the little things and trust the process. No pun intended. I wonder how high this team, just again, because of the personnel that they're going to have out there, how high they could finish in terms of defensive turnovers. That's exciting, and it's exciting that we got to see some of that tonight as well. Okay, from there, we could go in a few different directions. I know what everybody wants to hear, so let's go. Tyler Kolek, why not? Sure. So here's the thing. I find it's a strange position to be in because I feel like I can't talk about Tyler Kolek without talking about Campaign, because ostensibly those guys are competing for the same rotation spot. And for the second game in a row, Campaign looked good. Like, Campaign is a veteran presence. He runs a good pick and roll. He can hit threes. Like, he shoots it with confidence. He is a guy. I thought it was very, very interesting, by the way, that the first sub of the game was Campaign for Jalen Brunson. And it made me think, we're thinking about all these ways that the Knicks are going to be able to survive offensively in the non-Brunson minutes. Well, maybe we shouldn't have been assuming the whole time that Tibbs is going to follow the same substitution pattern that he followed last season, which is to leave Brunson in there for the entire first quarter and then try to survive the first couple minutes of the second and fourth quarter with a bunch of subs and one starter. Maybe he's going to flip that script, and maybe he's thinking, well, maybe Campaign should be the first sub in the game, or whatever point guard wins the backup point guard job. It could be Deuce even in that spot, theoretically. Have Deuce be the first sub in the game. Take Brunson out early and try to survive the end of the first quarter with all your starters minus Brunson, and then bring Brunson in at the start of the second with all of your subs. Now, the obvious reason why that doesn't make a ton of sense is because all of your best subs seem to play point guard. So, who were you taking off the floor? You have, like, again, if it's campaign, is and if, like, let's say Deuce comes in for Brunson, maybe Deuce plays a few minutes and then Cam enters for someone else. Like, it creates some other interesting issues. But the fact that Payne was the first sub in the game tonight at least made me raise an eyebrow. Like, I wonder if Tibbs is thinking about that as a creative way to deal with the non-Brunson minutes. Anyway, but onto Kolek. I mean, he looks good. He looks really, really good. And not just really, really good for a second-round rookie. He looks really good for any rookie. He looks like he's ready to contribute. He looks like he could. If he was on this Wizards roster, he should be the starting point guard of that team. Not saying he's better than Jordan Poole, but if you're the Wizards, you probably want to, kick the can or move things forward, pay it forward. That's what I was looking for. And he'd play rotation minutes on a lot of teams in the league. I just sitting here tonight, even after 2 impressive preseason performances, I can't sit here and be like, he's definitely going to play rotation minutes for this team because of the Payne thing. And I'm not sure how you get around the fact that you have 2 guys who are both point guards and both are making a really good case to play minutes. And that's even putting aside the fact that we're not even considering Deuce a point guard at this point. Or the fact that Brunson's going to play like 36 minutes tonight. So I don't know what they do there. He's nifty. He has a knack for scoring around the basket, doesn't lack for confidence. And the passing, he had, it was one, wrote it down because I was taking a lot of notes once he came in. He had a really, 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 I think it was a pretty either finish or maybe it was a pass to Huck Porty. Huck Porty, by the way, looked pretty good. I was impressed by him. Happy he got some time. Seems like they saw what they needed to see from Jericho Sims. I don't know. Is Huck Porty competing for, not rotation minutes, but like situational minutes? Because right now Sims looks like he's going to be situational. Maybe Huck Porty jumps him. You never know. So we'll see what happens with Kolek. Really good to see from him. Some other little stuff that I noticed, and then we'll move on. I thought that the other interesting thing, because we didn't really see any starter with the bench in the game 1. This game, we saw Mikal Bridges play as the starter predominantly with the bench. He was out there for almost the entire first quarter. He ended up playing with Payne, Sims, Shamet, and Achua. I think that there's a pretty good argument for Mikal Bridges being the starter because with the subs, if that's the way that Tibbs has to go at some point, because he has like some one-on-one scoring knack. I don't know that it looked particularly impressive tonight, but there's something good in theory there. Of course, are you going to go super small once Deuce is healthy, or I shouldn't say healthy, but when Deuce is back because he was sick tonight, and have Mikal be your 4? Or are you going to do what they did tonight and play 2 big men together because they were playing Sims and Achua before Huck Porty came in? Because that's going to kind of cramp your spacing in already a situation where you're not doing great on offense. So the bench and who plays with who and what that looks like is going to continue to be a work in progress. And I think that's pretty much it. Last thing I wanted to mention. A lot of pretty stuff in the third quarter, by the way. Like just some fun basketball. Tibbs went with a lineup towards the end of the third quarter with Cat, Precious, OG at the 3, Mikal at the 2, and then I think by this point it was Payne in for Brunson because I think Brunson was done for the night. And I know we've all talked about the possibilities, but seeing that group out there together for the first time, I was like, man, this team could have some versatility in terms of how they play, because that's a very legitimate lineup that they could play with Cat at the 5, Precious at the 4, OG at the 3, Mikal at the 2. I mean, doesn't even matter who's at the 1. You're already the biggest team in basketball right there. And on the flip side, you could see lineups where you have Brunson and Deuce and Bridges, and I'm like, maybe, I don't know, maybe even we may still see some small ball. Or you get, Hart and Bridges and Cat, or Hart and Bridges and OG or something. Like, there's lots of different ways they could go, lots of different looks they could give teams. That's exciting. They're still thin. That's kind of obvious. They're gonna look thin until they figure out a bench unit that really works. And for as much excitement as we have about a lot of things we saw tonight, I still don't think they've really nailed a bench unit that works. So we'll see if they can figure that out before the end of the preseason. My guess is it's going to be a work in progress for quite a bit longer than that. But that is enough for me. I am now going to bring up our producer tonight, Kevin. Hello, Kevin. Oh, wait, no, sorry. I have to read hi, Kev. Well, I'll say hi to you first. Hi, Kev. You're on mute.
What's going on, man?
What's going on with you? So this is our BetUS segment, where we will look at some NBA odds. Those odds, of course, are presented by BetUS. And for those of us, or for those of you who may be new to the party, if you're looking for a new book in basketball this season, BetUS is your answer. Fastest payouts in the industry. Get you a 125% sign-up bonus with $2,000 or up to 200% crypto deposit bonus. Fast and easy deposit withdrawal process. You can check out the link right below the description of this episode for more information. But they have it all, 24/7 personalized service every day of the year, live wagering, best betting variety, 10% back on your net losses twice a year. That's pretty helpful. And they can give you a personal account manager. What's better than that? So we're looking at NBA championship odds, Kev. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So I don't know, how you feel about betting the team that you root for, but I will just ask you, Knicks now plus 800. Is that like I'm running to give you all my money to put down on plus 800, or are you just like, that seems about right? That seems fair.
I think it's a good bet for a Knicks fan. I feel like if anyone's gonna
That's a good
have
way to
that
put it.
level of confidence in their team, Knicks fans got to do it. I mean, you have that. I wouldn't be mad at a Timberwolves fan feeling froggy. I wouldn't be mad at a Nuggets fan either.
I mean, both. So Nuggets plus 1,000, Wolves plus 1,000. Both of those guys, or both of those teams, are among the leaders. After, we should say, Boston plus 315. They're the favorites. OKC plus 700, and then Sixers tied with the Knicks Sixers a little bit behind the Knicks plus 900.
Plus 900.
I gotta say. Bad. So what'd you say there?
It's not bad. I think the way it's structured is pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, these people know what they're doing. For my 2 cents, I think if I was actually going to put money down on a team, it would probably have to be Oklahoma City. And the reason is, I don't know that OKC's odds need to be twice as long as Boston's odds, because if you believe in SGA, and I don't know any reason why anybody would not believe in SGA, plus 700 seems like really good value to me. And if I was going to take a long shot, I mean, they're not that long of a shot. I am looking at the Suns at plus 2,500. I know they're old. Yeah, but it's like, there's a reason they're plus 2,500, because they're old. They're not that deep when it comes to real NBA high caliber rotation players. I don't know. I just can't quite quit the idea of if Booker and Durant could figure out that whole thing. But yeah, those are the two bets that I like.
Yeah, I would say Phoenix. They have a couple of rookies that I think could play the proper supporting role, and they could be a little more surprising than they were. Ryan Dunn and also Iguodala.
By the way, if you were impressed by what you saw from the Wizards tonight, they're cut off because they're at the bottom of the page. But is that plus 100,000 to bet the Wizards? How many zeros are there? My eyes aren't very good anymore.
That's a lot of zeros. Yeah,
that's a lot of zeros. So look, if you liked what you saw from Washington tonight, the value is there. I will just say that the value is there. Okay. On that note, Kev, anything else before we move on to the rest of the show and the super chats?
I feel as if there might be something. Are we missing anything?
Oh, yeah, we are missing. We actually are literally missing something. I have to
Boy.
read the disclaimer because we just did the thing. Yeah, one more time. Use the link in the description. Get 125% deposit bonus up to $2,000 for your first 3 deposits. Yes, disclaimer. Gambling involves risk. Please only gamble with funds that you can afford to lose. All forms of betting carry financial risk, and it is down to the individual to make bets with or without the assistance of information provided. Now, is there anything else, or can we move on?
I think there's something.
You think there's something? Oh, now it's a party.
It feels like it was just 3 months ago that we were on this post game laughing at those losers from Philadelphia. Well, guess what? Call it a remix if you'd like. By the way, Candelita, Jose Iglesias, his remix of this song you're hearing comes out this Friday. Perfect.
Oh.
That's the New York Knicks, the orange and blue, eliminated Philly a few months ago. The New York Mets eliminate Philly tonight. The joyride continues, ladies and gentlemen. You telling me there was a Knicks game tonight?
Apparently, yes, there was. Well, it wasn't.
You described it so well. They apparently did really well, Jonathan.
The Knicks did well, but not as well as the Mets.
They're going to the NLCS. They're 4 wins away from the World Series. I'm not counting chickens. I'm just going to enjoy these next 4 days. And more importantly, I'm going to enjoy the fact that Philly continues to do everything I expect them to do. And it's lose. Kevin, how you feeling?
LFGM.
LFGM, baby.
LFGM, man.
Mets fans, enjoy this.
I love it. I love that both of you guys
It's real,
are.
baby. This is real.
I love that both of you guys are ecstatic. I love that every Met fan is ecstatic. And I love that I get to be along for the ride because it's been a fun one. And I hope it keeps going. As we watch the Padres and Dodgers sort out who's going to be playing the Mets. So, yeah, keep an eye on that. Okay.
Hell yeah. All right. Enjoy your post game, everybody. Let's go.
Thank you, sir. Kev is going to go back behind the scenes on the 1s and 2s. And we are here to take your super chats, comments, questions, anything you got. Before we start that, a quick bit of reporting from the couple of beat writers had this. So according to Tibbs, Jericho Sims experienced some sort of ankle injury tonight. That's why he didn't get back in the game. That was why we got more minutes for Huck Porty, but Tibbs was apparently impressed by Huck Porty. And Pacome Dadier, the Knicks' first-round rookie, was supposed to play but had a finger injury. So there you go. For anybody who's hankering for some Dadier, that's why you didn't see him. But I wouldn't expect to see much of him anyway. Okay. Let's see what we got. Chris Carter starts us off, not complaining, but is Dadier hurt? Yes, he is. He is hurt. I don't expect to see Pacome Dadier play 1 minute of basketball this year. I mean, maybe he gets in garbage time, but they have enough guys where I know that's not true. I guess a game like tonight, if they're up by 30, yeah, you would think that sort of game he should get in. I just and to me, Dadier was like a shot, shot in the dark. They like the kid. I think it remains interesting to me that he signed for 80% of the rookie scale. And had they drafted a player that wanted to sign for the full amount of the rookie scale or more than 100% of the rookie scale, because you could get up to 120%, their whole ability to skirt the second apron may not have been there. So I will continue to wonder how much that factored into that draft pick. I'm not saying that's the only reason they drafted him, of course not, but I wonder if it factored in. Yeah, I mean, to me, he's one of the youngest players in the draft. He was touted as someone who was a kind of a raw lump of clay with some tools. So even if he came in and played minutes, I wouldn't expect those minutes to be. What I would expect? I would expect him to play like a lot of the guys we saw on Washington. So there you go. That's that. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you, man. Hush Zoo, what's going on? Hush. It looks like the game has gotten even easier for Jalen Brunson. Good. I wanted a chance to vamp about Jalen Brunson for a bit. So I mentioned this a little bit on the last show, and I'll go back to it now. I think it's not that we keep underestimating him, because that's such a stupid talking head thing to say. But I know for me, I think I continue to misperceive like what sort of player or what is the best version of Jalen Brunson. And I'm going to try to explain that because I'm not even sure I fully understand what I mean, but I know I mean something. So here goes. Before last season, when I was looking at it and I'm like, all right, you got RJ still here, who's now, he just had signed his extension and, he was going to be looking, theoretically was ready to take a step up. We thought the Knicks might have 3 20-point per game scorers. Like, okay, he's going to get a bunch of buckets. And then, of course, you had Julius Randle here. And, like, I think at some point I probably predicted that Randle would lead the team in scoring. And I thought Brunson, I probably even before last season predicted that Brunson would take like a minor step back in terms of scoring than he did his first year with the team. And that he would it would, I forget what he averaged, but like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 less points, but like 1 or 2 or 3 more assists. So like on the whole, more productive. And then he just morphed into one of the 5 best scorers in the league. And so now fast forward to this team, and it's like, all right, well, now we got Cat, and now we got Bridges, and now like Ogio Anunoby's like 4th on the totem pole. Like I know we got paid, but the guy still probably wants to get his fair share of buckets. So again, I kind of went into was thinking along the course of the summer. I'm like, yeah, maybe now. Okay. So he's probably going to take a step back. Maybe he goes down to 24 or 25 points a game. And then you watch him out there and you're just reminded it's not that he's doing this because he has to. He's doing this because this is his gift. This is what he's good at. This is like what he's better at than pretty much anyone else in the league, or all but a very few people in the league. And I don't even know how big that list is at some point in terms of, and I feel stupid because me and Fred, I think over the summer, I went on his pod and we made our list of the best pure scorers in the league. And I think we both had Brunson in the bottom part of the top 10. But even thinking about some of the people that we drafted ahead of him, I don't how many people in the league right now would you just definitively say they're better pure scorers than Jalen Brunson with everything that he could do? And now, and here's the key, and now surrounded by pieces where he's going to have more offensive freedom than he certainly ever has on this team, and not since his days in Dallas. So long story short, Hush, yes, I agree with you. It looks like the game has gotten even easier. And I think that's because he's a worker and because of the spacing he's working with and the confidence he's playing with. He got his extension. He's the captain of the team. I think all that stuff plays into it too, that he's playing as free and easy and clear-minded as he ever has. Is there a world where Brunson averages 30 points a game this year? Yeah, I think so, for sure. I think scoring is going to be a little harder to come by because of the rule changes and everything, but he's still going to have his allotment of 40 pieces and probably a few 50 pieces as well. He's just that good. So, yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Hush. Travis Robbins, what's going on, Travis? So, you may have talked about it, but is the big tribute for Juice, Julius, and Devo coming this weekend or what? with them playing in January. Also, let's fucking go Mets. So I assume you were talking about when MSG is going to do it. I would be surprised if they did those tributes during a preseason game. I certainly don't pretend to know anything definitively, but I think, and actually, I'm going to look it up right now, because you would think that the January game is a national television game. It is not, actually. It's a Friday night. It's a Friday night Knicks game. So actually, you know what? That's even more. It's a Friday night Knicks game. Obviously, Friday nights, they make a big deal out of that. I just don't think they would do it during I think they want to make it as big a deal as possible. And I think the understanding, like I would guess, again, knowing nothing, I would guess that they're going to reach out to DiVincenzo's people and Julius's people and let them know, like, hey, we want to make this, like, we want to do this the right way. So we're not going to do it during a preseason game when, maybe the house is half full, or not half full, but you get what I mean. When it's not the truly appropriate thing. That's my guess. And if you're interested in when I'm doing a tribute, I do have a newsletter that I've already written as a tribute to Julius Randle. So if anybody wants to check that out, I think I'm going to drop that on Friday for the Knicks Film School Substack. I haven't penned anything on DiVincenzo yet. I think that's in part because I feel like I kind of got my tributes to him, or tributes, whatever, to him out of the way after last season, because I was just so over the moon effusive about him and Brunson and Hart and Hartenstein. But I'm sure I got a little something left in me. So yeah, I'll I mean, obviously I love DiVincenzo, but yeah, I'll get to that at some point. But yeah, my guess is January. Thanks, Travis. AL Oren Bausch. Is Cat nervous in the Garden? So I think it was the great Ben Stiller, who was tweeting tonight and tweeted something to the effect of Cat's, like, I kind of want to go find the tweet because I'm pretty sure New York Basketball retweeted it too. Like Cat's nervous, and I think that's a good thing. That means he cares. That means this matters more to him. Yeah, here we go. Cat, this is from Ben Stiller. Cat a little tight in his first game in MSG is, to me, a positive. He cares. He knows what this means. I'm all in. And, like, yeah, he was clearly tight. I think he missed his first 4 or 5 shots from downtown. I mean, but he ended up, once he got going, like, you saw it. Yeah, he finished 1 for 7 from downtown. So I think he's now 2 for 12 from downtown as a Knick. I love the fact that he has taken a dozen 3-point attempts in 42 minutes of basketball. That's music to my ears. Because I mean, that's something that I'm not going to, like, back off at all. I think the best version of this team is with Towns. Like, if he is open, he is shooting it from deep. Like, I'm not, and I think there are going to be enough possessions out there where he could do that and not have to completely sacrifice his looks and his other stuff that he wants to do. Because, like, let's just do the math real quick. I think it's fair to suggest that there's probably going to be 20 shots a game out there for Towns. Like, let's say that there's 23, 24 shots out there a game for Jalen Brunson. I got to think that there's at least 19, 20, 21 shots for Towns. Again, I'm only asking. I want 8 threes a game. I think 8 threes a game is the right number. I think that's, I think he's really firing away right now. I don't think he's going to fire away at this clip, but I think 8 threes a game is appropriate. So if he gets 8, even if he gets 9 or 10, that still leaves a ton of opportunities for him to put the ball on the floor, which we know he wants to do. And you saw it a few times tonight. It looked pretty good. My favorite moment, though, probably from him, other than like the Brunson pick and roll stuff, his last basket. And I think it came at the beginning of the fourth quarter. It did come at the beginning of the fourth quarter. When he was just on the baseline, I forget who he had defending him, and he just kind of did a little Kevin Durant fadeaway from, whatever it was, 12, 13, 14 feet. And just, again, I'm going to be a broken record because you're going to hear this from me a lot. Watching a New York Knicks center do the stuff that he's doing on the court is, it's like, where's this been all my life? And and here's the other part of it, right? And this is why ultimately I think and I hope that the right move was to trade what you traded to get him, because you didn't have to compromise any other position in your starting lineup to do this. And I say that intentionally, knowing that, like, let's just say there was a world where they could have traded Julius and Mitch for Cat and not DiVincenzo. I got to tell you, I know a lot of people are going to want to hear this. I bet your Hart still would have started over DiVincenzo if DiVincenzo was still here. Not 100% on that, but if I had to guess, that would be my guess. And so the notion that they could just plop this guy in to do everything that he's doing in place of what would have been, I don't know, Precious Achiuwa or Jericho Sims, it's like, it's unreal. Absolutely unreal. Thanks, Al. Good stuff from you. Kevin Danishevsky, legit believe the Wiz can break the 11-12 Charlotte record. So I have to get out the old calculator, because for those who forget, the 11-12 Charlotte team went, and I'm pretty sure I have this right, 7-59, which means they won 7 out of 66 games. That is a winning percentage of 10.6, which over an 82 game season will round up and we'll say 9 wins. I think Kev, check me on that. I'm pretty sure I have that number, the 7 and 59, right? Pretty sure I have it right. If I don't have it right, I apologize. So, do I think the Wizards are going to win fewer than 9 games? I do not think the Wizards are going to win fewer than 9 games, and the only reason for that is because I gotta say, a few of their young players are actually kind of impressive. Like, I know Koulibaly couldn't hit a shot tonight, and Brunson got him on the one. That was nasty. That was so much fun. He's good. He's a good player. He's confident, and like, he's going to be a defensive monster. He's going to be an asset. Sarr looked okay tonight on offense. At least he had a couple moments. Like Kispert, I like Kispert. I kind of wish I could see Kispert on a better team, because I think he's a real contributor. And here's the biggest reason why, Kev. That Charlotte team played in a different era of basketball when the three-pointer was not the great equalizer that it is now. And I don't know how many games it's going to be this year for Washington, but like, there's going to be a handful, or just a couple of handfuls a game, or a couple of handfuls of games where the Wizards are going to come out and they're going to hit 45% of their threes, and the team that they're playing is going to hit 32% of their threes, and they're just going to like stumble into a win that they maybe didn't really want. So for that reason alone, I don't think the 9-win mark, if the unofficial 9-win mark is in jeopardy. But I could see, like, they won 15 games last year. Are they better? Are they worse? I mean, they're certainly going to try to trade away pieces. I don't know. I guess I could see some in the low teens. I'll give you that. But they're bad. Thanks, Kev. Stevens Giame, what's going on, Stevens? Bridges is a perfect fit with this lineup. What's the official name we're giving the Bridges OG tandem? Okay, good way to end the postgame tonight. As of now is our last super chat, so we're getting out of here early tonight. I'm not good with nicknames. I'm just putting that right out there. Oh wait, Kevin has a couple. Wingstop or London Bridges. Kev, if you made up either of those, you're a genius, man. London Bridges is awesome. Obviously, Ojananobi is British, so London Bridges makes a hell of a lot of sense. But Wingstop, man, I kind of want to put that to a vote. Can we get out of the old Twitter app and put that to a vote? Wingstop or London Bridges? I like Wingstop. I've never had Wingstop. I've always the commercials look good, but I don't know. I try to eat healthier in recent years. Maybe I'll try it and that'll sway me to the nickname or not. Whatever nickname we give him in, it is those two guys together. And the other thing that's so great about Bridges, and I think we've already been reminded about this a few times. I certainly thought it watching tonight a couple times. His basketball IQ and how smart he is out there. And when you pair that with Brunson and honestly with everybody else out there, like Cat. So like Cat catches a lot of shit because he does like dumb stuff from time to time, like driving into a guy and getting a charge or fouling someone 70 feet from the basket or stuff like that. I don't think that's I don't think that's like a hoops IQ issue. I don't even think that's like a keeping your head in the game issue. I mean, it's more of a keeping your head in the game issue, but like, I don't know, man, watching Cat out there and watching how he navigates both the offense and honestly the defense, I've been pretty impressed by Cat's defense so far. And I should have said that at the top. I think it's been pretty good. I think he's just a really smart basketball player. And I think when you combine talented players who are also smart players, and then I think the most important part, the skeleton key that really unlocks it, is players who are willing to accept their role. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is watching those five guys out there. And I know I'm going a little far afoul of your question, but like everybody's cool with whatever. Like if Mikal Bridges goes out and gets 8 shots on any given night, but the Knicks win, like there are some guys who will say they're okay with that. I think he will actually be okay with that. Same thing with Anunoby. I think Anunoby, like, he'll get his shots, but he knows his role in the offense. He's not trying to force anything. Josh Hart, like, look, Josh Hart's going to find something to complain about because he's Josh Hart. But, like, again, that dude, if this were a regular season game, like, I genuinely think there will be games where he doesn't take a shot, where he'll play 30 minutes and he will not take a shot, and he'll get 14 rebounds, and some steals and a bunch of assists and whatever else. So just those guys' willingness to accept their role, and like it seems like it's really going to fit nicely. Still got a lot of work to do, a lot of growing pains ahead. Got to iron out the kinks, and like under 2 weeks now from opening night, and the animal that they're going to face on opening night is a different beast than what they saw tonight at Madison Square Garden. That's for sure. So they're gonna have to be ready, because there's not a lot of, it's not any, maybe 1 or 2 cakewalks in the first 10 games, and there's no real cakewalks in the first 10 games because everybody's like really trying their best. I guess if you play the Wizards in the first 10 games, it's probably a cakewalk. Maybe the Blazers too, maybe the Nets. But that's it. Okay. Kev is telling me he is looking. There might be more super chats. So we're going to double check before we get out of here to make sure we got everybody. Oh yeah, we do have more. Okay. Danny Gardner. Deuce Hart, Bridges, OG Precious. Good luck. So good luck because of the defense, right? So I think you're going to be able to cobble together a lot of fun combinations like this. And I think for every fun combination you can cobble together like this, and like, look, we'll see all the combos at some point, But as far as something that becomes like a staple, I really do think it's going to depend on what the end point is that Tibbs feels most comfortable reaching when the lineup is tilted most towards the bench. Because ultimately any substitutions up until that point are going to have to be, to some extent, in furtherance of that goal, to be like, all right, this is how we are surviving. This is how we are bridging the gap from the, when there's 5 minutes left in the first quarter or 4 minutes left in the first quarter, whenever he takes out his first sub, to there's 6 minutes left in the first half and we have our starting five back out there, or 5 minutes left in the first half, whatever. The point is, there's going to be 24, 25, 26, 27 minutes of every game where it's not the starting five. So, like, to navigate those two segments of each, or that segment of each half, is it going to be possible to put this group out there? Yeah, I guess so. How would it look? It would look like Brunson's the first guy on the bench, probably, right? And Cat's the second guy on the bench. But already I'm like, all right, well, so you're taking your two best offensive players off the floor at the same time. I get what you're going for. You're going for a ton of defense, a ton of switchability, decent amount of shooting, although Precious and Hart out there. So, like, that's another thing right there. Like, are we going to see a lot of minutes where Hart and Precious play together? Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I don't like, it raises the question, should this team ever have a minute of the game go by where both Brunson and Cat are off the floor? I'm guessing that there will be, because like Tibbs separated Randall and he tried Randall in the non-Brunson minutes. Like, it didn't pay enough dividends. So he's like, screw it. I'm going to bank on our starters being awesome. I'm going to keep those guys out there together for as much as possible. And then I'm going to figure out something else to do in the minutes where they're not playing. And that was OG after a while. It could still be OG, it could be McCall. But, to your point, Danny, like, again, I'm sure we'll see it. I'm just not sure it's the thing that makes the most sense, Thanks, man. So Kev is obtaining the super chats. So be patient, everyone. I was going on for a while because I didn't think we had a ton tonight, but I should have known better. Anyway, yeah, I guess while he's finding the next comment, I'll just say, like, I do think McCall with the three guards is a little small, but which is why I keep coming back to the notion that is there any way for the non-Brunson minutes for him to get Cat and OG on the floor together? Or I guess it could be Cat and McCall together, and I think there are different pluses and minuses to either of them. But basically, I guess what I'm wondering actively is, just because Randall and Brunson didn't work together as a Randall without Brunson didn't really work. It wasn't good enough to justify lowering the number of minutes that Randall played with Brunson. I'm wondering if the Cat situation might be a little bit different. And I'm wondering if Cat's skill set, number one, and number two, Cat's impact on the other players, specifically on the offensive end, is such that we can, like, it basically justifies a true stagger. where you always have at least one of them on the court at all times. I don't know. I think it's one of many interesting questions that still remain to be answered, and I think I don't think we're going to get any definitive answers before opening night. I think we're going to have to wait till opening night to get our answers. So again, thanks, Danny. That was a good thought experiment. Okay, Busy, what's going on, Busy? Over under 20 games for the starters and the offense to get the offense humming. 20 games. I'm taking the under. I did have to think about it, but I'm taking the under only because it feels like everything stems from the Brunson Cat pick and roll, and not even the Brunson Cat pick and roll, but the Brunson Cat 2-man game. And as long as that is good, and it feels like that's going to be good sooner rather than later, those guys, I feel like the amount of progress they made from game 1 to game 2 to the preseason was massive. So because everything stems from that, I would guess sooner rather than later. And look at who else is on the floor. Is it going to really take Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart time to figure out their role in the offense? I'm not worried about that. And Cat, I don't know. I think Cat's a pretty easy player to play with. Cat strikes me as a guy who guys are going to get adjusted pretty quickly to playing with him and knowing his tendencies and figuring out where to be and how to put yourself in a position so he could get you good looks and make your life easier and all that stuff. And again, I have to go back to it. I think everybody's unselfish. I think that's really the key. Everybody's unselfish. Everybody wants the same thing. And I think and let me just, because what I could hear somebody being like, well, how can you say everybody's unselfish? And then 50, whatever it was, a few minutes ago, you're talking about how Jalen Brunson could score 30 a game and he's going to reach even more greater heights scoring. I think that there's an acknowledgement by every party, all the parties involved, and I'd guess including Cat, because Cat he already showed he was willing to take a backseat to Anthony Edwards. So if he was willing to do that, I don't think he's going to have any problem taking a backseat to Jalen Brunson. I think everybody acknowledges, look, this is JB's team. JB's going to do the heavy lifting, and we kind of revolve around, we orbit around him. And again, so I think you could have that, and at the same time, everybody's unselfish. I think Brunson's unselfish. I think Brunson just he's trying to win, and he knows, he knows he's good, and those are good shots. So yeah. Thanks, Busy. Also, shout out to Busy, who's going to be the commissioner of the KFS Fantasy League this year. Very excited for that. And our draft next Wednesday. Okay. Numa Puma. What's going on, Numa Puma? 44-year orange and blue ride or die. Never felt this lack of fear. MJ was a dead stop. Melo era had faults and Bron. No fear, only health, and a bit of bench strengthening. You nailed it. My only concern. I'm not saying if this team stays healthy, they are going to win the championship. I don't think that's fair to Boston, or frankly, OKC and maybe another team out west. But by far, my biggest concern is health. And I have to think most Knicks fans are going to feel the same way. The bench matters. And here's the thing, right? The bench part of it and the health part of it go hand in hand. Because if the bench continues to look thin, and I do think that right now they look a little thin, for as impressive as Kolek and Payne and Deuce, the first game at least, have been, still think they look a little. And Shamet didn't do. I didn't mention Shamet's name. Shamet, I don't know what he finished, but whatever. Shamet's gonna have nights where he goes off. Shamet's gonna have nights where he doesn't score as many. Tonight he was well, that's why I didn't mention his name. He was 2-10 tonight. 1 of 7 from deep. So not hitting, but nobody was hitting tonight. Anyway, so if the bench continues to look thin, how much does he push the starters? And if he pushes the starters, is that going to impact the starters' health? But like, yeah, you get the gist of it. I think they're gonna be awesome. It's a weird place to be. It's a really weird place to be. I've never been here before. That's for sure. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Apparently Kev has, I don't know what happened tonight. It's preseason for all of us. We got the rest of the super chats. And Kev is gonna figure out a way to get them so I can read them. Or yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. Thanks, Numa Puma. Appreciate you, man. Fun picture, by the way. Kev, if you also want to just like for tonight, I'm sure it's cool. You could just you could come up on stage and read them, and I'll react if you want. That's fine too. Whatever works. Again, it's the preseason. We're all getting adjusted. It was definitely the preseason for Landry Shamet. I know that. I trust that we won't have too many more 1 of 7 shooting nights. By the way, oh yeah, there we go. Okay, what's up,
yeah? I think this is the easiest, the easiest way because I could only present if it's a tab and I can't. All right, I don't know what happened, but whatever was scrolled above the first one, I couldn't get back to. It was never up on the screen. But
right.
We got
what do we got next?
Manny
Campos.
His says it's only preseason and the Wiz are putrid, but watching OG McCall terrorize them on defense was entertaining. Excited for the season. Also, Huck is better than Sims.
We talked about OG and McCall already, so I'm not going to spend too much more time on that. It was very fun though, and I did feel a little bit bad for the Wizards, but not really. I think. Look, I feel like Sims has kind of become a bit of a punching bag, and I also feel partially responsible for that because I feel like I haven't been the biggest. Not that I haven't been the biggest fan of his. He came out as a rookie, and he was like serviceable right away, and then his second year, I think he took a legitimate step up. I think he was improved in his second year, and like he was a starter for like games that they won. He was a starter at the 4 and at the 5, which was wild. That was the thing that happened. But it felt like he improved. And then last year, I think people were like, all right, I guess we're going to get another step up because like that's what Deuce did, for instance. And it's just kind of like, he was just kind of like, okay. And we haven't seen much so far, but it doesn't strike anybody that there's been any huge leap. We haven't heard reports at a camp or anything that like, oh, Jericho Sims has been tearing it up. Like he's ready for a major. And like, here's the other part. The Knicks know, like they're keeping tabs on all these guys. I'm sure they've been watching these guys work out and do stuff all summer. Like it sure seems like they were pretty desperate to trade for a center, whether it was Cat or somebody else. So would they have had that level of desperation if they had more faith in Sims? I don't know. As for Huck Porty, I thought he looked good tonight. I thought he looked good. That one possession where he had 2 steals on the same possession and then came down the floor a few minutes later and had another steal. Like I think he's got something to him. So that was exciting.
All right. Next up, we have from Jessica Elsner. She says, Huck Tua is only one nickname for this kid. The Incredible Huck, Huck Wind, Huck Eye, so many. Tyler, the Creator, looks fire too, is the fire emoji. And hashtag Killer Kids, hashtag Banging Bench.
I mean, is that right to do that to him? The Huck Tua. I like the Incredible Huck.
Incredible.
The Incredible Huck is good because you're just taking out one letter. And he's a big dude. He's a center. So like if the shoe fits, wear it. He had a nice dunk tonight. That was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm down with the Incredible. I mean, but Huck 2 is just so topical. I mean, right. Man. And she has a podcast, as I understand it. That is popular. She does, yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah, we should try to get her on the show and see what her thoughts are on the Towns Brunson pick and roll. I'd be very curious to hear that. But yeah, Huck Porty looked good. Tyler the Creator, that's an easy one. That's a layup. Yeah, no, he looks really good. I don't know, man. I just don't see a way for Kolek to break into the rotation at the outset. Maybe something changes. Maybe they make a trade. Maybe somebody gets hurt. There's lots of shit that could happen, but it's gonna be an uphill battle for him, unfortunately.
I think if there's like a lot of fourth quarter blowouts, that might be the way.
Yeah,
he may get time.
I'll tell you this: the first game that campaign gets in there and he shoots 1 for 7, like people are going to be screaming for it. Or honestly, for that matter, Shamet. Like Shamet needs to hit shots for him to, because if you look at it, like what's really the difference between him and Kolek? I know like he's a veteran, so like veterans are generally better at defense, but like maybe that's the key for Kolek. Maybe it's not that he has to overtake Payne. Maybe he needs to overtake Shamet. Maybe that's the likelier thing. I don't see a world where Campaign is not a rotation player, given the current structure of this team. So maybe that's it. Maybe Kolek has to overtake Shamet. We'll see. I don't know.
Okay. Next one we have Hus Zoo. I know it's the Wizards / preseason, but this team is really beautiful. You can see it coming together. The 2-man, the defense, every shot is practically open.
I think the theme of tonight, in fact, I may just title my newsletter, I know it's the Wizards, but that's if this episode had a title, that would be it. Yeah, like I think this team, the Knicks are going to beat up on a lot of bad teams, and I think you saw that because there's certain teams, and I think that's the biggest difference between them and maybe some teams. Although last year's team got to a place certainly in January, but also some other even other parts of the year where just bad teams didn't have a chance against them. But like this team's just gonna they're just gonna overwhelm some bad teams. And if you're like a mediocre team, like what I'm really curious about, like how do they look against like how do they look against a team like the Heat or a team like I don't want to call the Magic mediocre, but like the Magic were the 3rd best defense in the league last year, right? We have every reason to believe they'll be a very good defense again. They have some real pieces. Like, are the Knicks offensively going to be able to like overtake a team like that with what they bring on defense, and then be able to like, because the Magic, it's not really scoring is not their specialty. And then I'm trying to think of some other teams out west that have like occupy a similar place in the league hierarchy. That's the problem, is there's not a lot of mediocrity right now.
Yeah.
So it's like
really bad teams and then solid teams and then a few really good teams. But there's a few bottom feeders that I think we're just going to probably more often than not steamroll rather than
but you know what?
A close game.
I think there's probably like 12 to 15 teams in the league that are going to be able to just steamroll out those bad teams. So I don't know. But then, you know what? Then again, maybe some of these teams that we're so convinced are going to be bad, maybe they're not going to be bad right out of the gate. The Charlottes and Utahs and Chicago's and Toronto's. If we get better, RJ, and did I miss anybody? I think that's probably it. Of the world, Atlanta, you want to throw them in there, but although they're like the most mediocre team in the league at this point, I think. So we'll see.
All right. Next one is another from Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate you.
So,
as always.
For context, a lot of these were actually during the game.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's what led to this.
Maybe that's what happened. Yeah.
Probably. Her next one is Huck Tua, slam on that thing. # rotation spot hunting.
Situational spot hunting. Look, nothing has changed. Tibbs is not going to go with 10 guys. He's going to go with 9 because at no point in time will he have 5 bench players on the floor, barring injury. So this is a 9-man rotation. We're already talking about that there's no place for Kolek. Payne's not going anywhere. Achua's not going anywhere. Who am I forgetting? Oh, Deuce McBride. Yeah, that guy. He's pretty important. He's going to play. So I think it is the battle for the situational big man, where it's a game against maybe a team that brings a lot of size, where you need a little bit more, and you don't want to go small ever. That's it. Or when there's injuries,
Right.
like that's the thing. So I don't know. Like Simpson last year was contract. They didn't extend them. There's never been any reports of any kind of extension. I mean, not that they needed to be very clear, but like, I don't know. I'd be like, it's a big, it's just going to sound crazy. It's a big year for Sims. Like he hasn't yet proven to 100% be a rotation player on a good team. And if you haven't proven to be a rotation player on a good team, like, are you sure? Like, is there always definitely going to be a job for you on a bad to mediocre team, or would they rather give that spot to someone with a little higher upside? That's why I think it's like, I'm not trying to say like Jericho Sims is playing for his basketball career, but I do think that he'll get time. He'll absolutely get minutes this year at some point. How is he going to look? Is he going to look better? So big year for him.
All right. Next up, we have 2 from Drew P.
Okay.
We have the first one, the pick and roll is devastating. JB's a gift from God. And the second one, Kispert could be a great trade deadline move.
Oh man, I love Kispert, but the problem with Kispert, so here we could do a little NBA right now. I mean, yes, gift from God, totally, completely agree. Jalen Brunson, start building the statue, yesterday. As for Kispert, Corey Kispert, I believe, is entering his 4th season. And he's entering his 4th season. I have not heard of. Oh wait, no, hold on. I may have misspoken because I'm thinking maybe. No, yeah, he didn't extend. I know I wasn't forgetting anything. Yeah, he hasn't extended yet. So there's been I haven't heard any reports of an extension for him. Not that he still couldn't extend with the Wizards, like they have his restricted free agency rights. But it's a new regime. That regime didn't draft him. Like, what do they think of him? And if what they think of him is he's like a 7th or 8th guy, then that may be different from what he thinks of himself, and he may want to try to push his way, elsewhere. How many minutes he's going to get this year? Like, he should, like, honestly, on this team, like, there's no reason he shouldn't start because he provides like shooting on a team that just has no shooting. So, and he could do some stuff with the ball. I don't know. Can he defend? I haven't watched. Frankly, I haven't watched enough Wizards basketball over the years. I don't know that anyone would be able to conclusively say that anyone on that team can or cannot defend because they've been such a disaster. Like, what is he going to look like in a better situation? I don't know. I don't know what the trade would be because here's the other part of it is like I don't think the Wizards are in like a desperate rush to get that pick back. I know in theory, like that would make a lot of sense. Oh, give the Wizards their pick back. Like they know that pick is not going to convey as a 1st round pick. Now they may want those seconds. If they're the worst team in the league in a few years and like they don't want to give up the 31st pick in the draft, maybe that has value to them. I don't know. But I like Corey Kispert. I think Corey Kispert's a good player. I think he's an NBA rotation player. Is he a rotation player on a team that's like trying to win a title? I don't know. Maybe. Good question though. Good name to bring up for sure.
Next one is from Jessica again. This team is already so fun. Even when missing shots, Carl is adding so much on defense and hustle and effort. This starting 5 will be fire in a month. #LGK.
I don't think we're gonna have to wait a month. I think the starting 5 is gonna look really good out of the gate. I think the issues are gonna come when you take one of those starters off the floor. And then maybe not one. Maybe that's the best question. Question. Who's the first starter to hit the bench? because you could tell me it's Cat, and you could tell me that again, let's just go through each starter briefly. What's the logic for Cat? The logic for Cat is you put Precious in for Cat, you have all your other starters out there, and then you have Cat as the first starter back in the game, theoretically, to prop up the non-Brunson minutes. Okay, so that's the argument for Cat. I kind of made the argument for Brunson earlier, which is just get him out of the game first, so you get him back in the game sooner, and then you do a stint where it's the rest of the starters just without Brunson. I think there's an argument for that. Definitely an argument for Deuce coming in for OG. If, again, like last year, OG is the guy that Tibbs wants to use as the one starter with the bench unit. And then same thing for McCall. And then that leaves Josh Hart, who's probably the most likely guy. He's probably the correct answer to this question. The guy that will wind up going to the bench first for Deuce. For all the reasons that people out there want Deuce McBride to start. So I could literally see anything. But that's among my 2 or 3 biggest questions for this team. Who's the first starter that goes to the bench? Because I'm really curious what he winds up doing. Because I think it's going to be consistent too. We'll see. Thanks, Jess.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you're going to do with the second unit. But next one's from Anthony Sixto. I was worried about the second unit. I was worried about the second unit playmaking and shot creation. I know it's preseason, but starting to get less worried.
I'm still worried about that's where it's the Wizards, it factors in big time. Against a real team that has a real bench. I have not yet seen. Now, Deuce didn't play tonight, which is significant. And so if you're looking for here's the silver lining. If you're looking for a silver lining, here's the silver lining. Here's the glass half full. Deuce didn't play tonight, and in game 1, when Deuce did play, there was no starter on the floor with Deuce. It was a true 5-man bench unit. So we have not yet seen a true approximation of what the bench will look like. So because of that, I'm going to still be hopeful of what Deuce plus whoever starter or starters can do. At the end of the day, though, it's we really do get spoiled because, again, we talked about it. Jalen Brunson is one of the best shot creators in the league. And then when you have Towns out there with all of that other talent, he amplifies that talent so much, and he could do everything that he could. It's just it's a drop off. It's a drop off because you don't have Brunson out there to do the Brunson stuff. And there is no Brunson clone in the league, let alone on this team. And here's the thing, they don't have there's a reason that Lou Williams kept getting employed year after year after year. And Jamal Crawford kept getting employed year after year after year, even when those guys were past their prime, because at least the teams that had those guys knew that come hell or high water for whatever minutes in the game that the star of the of that team couldn't be out there. Hey, at least we're getting shots up, good, decent shots up, and it could lead to offensive rebounds, could lead to whatever else. So I don't know. They don't have that guy. I don't think they have that guy. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they do, and maybe I'm sleeping on Tyler Kolek or McCall in that role, or Deuce even. I don't know.
We got next up Juanan. Ivan Make Basket is a 30-year-old reference at this point from the movie Eddie, so I'm dating myself, but that's Jonas Valanciunas. I'm very happy he's not on this team. # fire Tibbs. # F Wild Bill.
I never watched Eddie when it was out, or even in the years after it came out. But then somebody asked me to appear on a basketball movie podcast a few years ago, so I had to watch at least some of the film for it. That is an atrocious movie. It is truly. I mean, it's just it's very bad. Although I guess in terms of sense. Yeah, in the realm of sports you know, like not documentary, but like a movie or a show or whatever. The Netflix, the Aaron Hernandez thing is making a lot of bad sports movies and sports shows look awfully good right about now. I don't know if you've caught any clips from that.
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, they're not pretty. So Jonas Valanciunas, who's going to be a Laker by New Year's. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what role he has in the NBA anymore because who is that? I mean, we like New Orleans showed you during the playoffs last year. Like he could, like they didn't play him, for some of those games at all, because it's just like it's such a target for the opposing team to have that guy out there and take advantage of him on defense. And I just like his offense doesn't justify that, So, and yet the Wizards gave him a 3-year, $30 million deal, and I guarantee you they would not have given him that deal if they didn't feel pretty confident that they could trade him. And then again, 3 for 30, right? Wendell Carter Jr. just got 3 for 60. So you're like, man, Wendell Carter Jr. Is Wendell Carter Jr. the 23rd best center in the league? 18th, 21st? I don't know. He's somewhere in that range, right? He's not. I don't think he's top 15. That's for sure. That dude just got $20 million a year. So maybe it does put into perspective that Jonas Valanciunas got 10 a year. Because that's like, honestly, that's backup money now. And maybe that's what he's going to be in the Lakers. Maybe he's going to play 15 minutes a game as a backup. We'll see.
What we got next? Kevin Danishevsky. It's preseason. It's the Wizards, who will be one of the worst teams ever. But to shoot like that and look like that is so encouraging. Cat's defense is good.
Famous last words, Kev. No, I think I said it already. I think it looked good too. We haven't seen him. It's been all drop, right? That's the crazy thing. It's been all drop so far.
All drop.
And it's been fine because it's like it's a version of drop coverage where you have all of these arms and legs and elbows and knees and hands flying out from all different directions, and nothing is easy. And so, like, because of all of that, like, everybody has time to recover and, help and get back and the whole thing. Like, so I don't know, man. I think they're going to make him look pretty darn good in drop, but I think he's also done his part too to look good. So, yeah, no, it's a very good job by him so far. Still, I'm curious if we start to see at any point them start to switch it up. Like, and that starts in Boston. How are they going to defend Boston? Because Boston, we know what they could do.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna look like Mitchell Robinson and drop. He's not gonna be blocking shots and stealing the outlet pass and catching an alley down the other end. But I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
But all right. So Hush Zeus says Mikal really hated BK. Looks back into form again.
I sympathize with anybody who had to spend it's not that I would love to shit on the Nets, but I just think being on a tanking team is really hard, or just a bad team, bad organization. That's kind of like they were just directionless last year. That's the thing. It's not even like Washington last year had a direction. Like they were trying to tank for the top pick, Same thing, with like the Nets were like they started off like where we are gunning for the playoffs, like full-throated, like we're coming. This is, Brooklyn basketball. Here we come. And then it just got so bad, and then they just got mired in this like, what are we? And they just that's, I don't envy that. So that's why I haven't even paid attention to what his numbers were last year. I don't care, because that's not for me representative at all of what he is as a player. I think it would be good.
And I think this is the last one we lost from
Okay.
Kevin Danishevsky. Also, did Huck Porty just supplant Sims? Can we find a way to keep TJ? Need to trade Mitch, maybe? Trade idea of the day: Mitch / PD, I guess, Pacome Dadier, Washington first for Tari Eason and Jacques Landale. Your reaction is funny.
Why is
I
Houston
mean-
doing that? Why is Houston trading Tara Eason? I know, because they have a ton of wings, and they can't get, and there's not enough time for the wings that they have.
Man,
Okay,
I
fine.
think if
So-
Houston wanted to get rid of like what's his name, Alperen Sengun, and like move him for something else and then bring
And-
Mitch to play the center, but I don't think so.
And there's been, where did I read or hear that apparently Senjun might be, between him and Green, he might be the one to get the extension before the year starts, or at least there's like dialogue or something. I forget where I
Yeah.
read or heard that, but it's out there. So presuming they want to go forward with Senjun as a major part of their team, and they also have the Thompson. I get the Thompson's confused. The Thompson kid that is in Houston,
Amen.
who is a guy who will benefit moving forward from playing sometime at the 5, on offense at least. Like I just don't think Houston. And so then you're like, all right, we'll rope in a third team, and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, so it comes back to the fundamental issue of, and this is the problem I think they're going to keep running into. Where is the team that is going to find value in Mitchell Robinson for whatever reason? And there could be different reasons. It could be purely about him as a player, although at this point I can't imagine that being it. It's probably going to have to be a team that needs that skill set, and the contract is of particular importance to them to whatever team this is. And but again, I don't see that. I don't see Houston making that trade. Tari's is awesome, but I don't think it's gonna happen. So, all right. I will start to sign off. Kev, why don't you double check, make sure there's nothing else, and then I will get out of here. So, couple programming notes, or actually a couple announcements. I think I was supposed to announce this much earlier in the show. I'll announce it now. We are looking to finalize our MSG outing for this year. So, for anybody who may not know, we're going to a game on January 6th against the Orlando Magic. Last year, we ended up getting 2 suites. I will just say, for anybody who is interested, you can go ahead and in Monday's KFS newsletter, there was a link to a survey. You could fill out that survey to log your interest in going to the game. Again, it's the free newsletter. It's near the top of the newsletter, I think. It says link, and you can click on that to log your interest. For the rest of this week, I am recording a podcast tomorrow with someone that I have been trying to get on the pod for a few weeks now, and finally are going to. We've had it booked for a little while. Going to get a chance to talk to him. Extraordinarily excited to pick his brain about not only the Karl-Anthony Towns trade, but the Karl-Anthony Towns era in Minnesota, because I think he knows it and understands it better than anyone. And can even go back as far as the Tibbs era in Minnesota. So I'll leave that hanging out there. And then I am going to be going on live. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to announce this yet, but I'll announce it anyway. For a special show of sorts on Friday. So I'm just going to tease that. I'll leave that out there. So stay tuned for that. Maybe be around in front of where you could access YouTube Friday at around 3:30, 3 something. I think about 3:30, around there. Okay, that is enough for me. Thank you everybody for tuning into another episode of the Knicks Film School post-game show presented by and powered by BetUS. And we will be back with the next post-game also. The next game that they play, which I think is the Minnesota game on Sunday. So that's exciting. Till next time, have a good rest of your week. Take care, and we will talk to you soon. Peace out.